As we continue looking at the fourth stanza of Psalm 119, we find these words in verse 27. David says, "Make me understand the way of your precepts, so I will meditate on your wonders." To meditate upon God's wonders is to consider the great things that God has done to prove His love for man. Paul reminded the saints in Rome, "For whatever was written in earlier times or aforetime was written for our learning, so that through perseverance and the encouragement of the Scriptures we might have hope." Romans 15 and verse 4. The Bible begins by expressing a fundamental fact. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, Genesis 1:1. And meditating upon God's wondrous work in creation can help provide us with comfort, since, as we read in Romans 1 and verse 20, His invisible attributes, His eternal power, and His divine nature have been clearly seen, being understood through what has been made. God's creation and continued providence ought to give us comfort as we look to the future. But we also see in the inspired record that God has helped His people during times of temptation and oppression. The Apostle Peter, in his second epistle, chapter 2, verses 7 and 9, said that he rescued righteous Lot, oppressed by the sensual conduct of unprincipled men, proving that the Lord knows how to rescue the godly from temptation. When the Israelites were in bondage in Egypt, they cried out to God, and God saw the sons of Israel, and God took notice of them in Exodus 2 and verse 25. So what did He do? He then sent Moses to bring His people out of Egypt. And as God delivered them from that bondage in Egypt, Jesus is able to deliver us from the bondage of sin and to set us free, as we see in John 8, verses 32 through 34. When one dies, we're told in Ecclesiastes 12 and verse 7, that his spirit will return to God who gave it. And knowledge of the afterlife provided David with comfort when he learned that his infant son had died. For we find the words in 2 Samuel 12 and verse 23, "Can I bring him back again? I will go to him, but he will not return to me." The promise in God's Word of life after death is designed to provide comfort for the faithful. But then we see verse 29 of Psalm 119, where David says, "Remove the false way from me, and graciously grant me your law." During difficult times, many seek to be strengthened by falsehood rather than by the truth of God's Word. They listen to those who cry, "Peace, peace," but there is no peace, as in the days of Jeremiah. They hold on to a false sense of security as those who are at ease in Zion, while judgment was coming against them. In Amos 6, verses 1 through 8, we see a people just like this. They will find teachers who will entice them, who will tickle their ears and teach them what they want to hear. Paul told Timothy that the days would come when this is what people would actually desire. David's request to God as he dealt with hardship was, "Graciously grant me your law." This is all that will help us. When a loved one passes who died outside of Christ, there's no real benefit in finding a preacher who's willing to claim that that person is in heaven. Those in mourning, if they do not understand the Bible, this might make them feel better when they hear these words, but the falsehoods of the world and the falsehoods of false religion do not provide the strength that only the truth of God's Word is able to provide. And so when we face those hard times and those difficulties of life, let us turn to God's Word for the strength that we need to continue on. The Noble Searcher is a ministry of the Pyburn Street Church of Christ. We thank you for joining us for our study today. If you have any questions or requests for lesson topics, Please feel free to email us at Pyburn Street, that's Pyburn Street, at gmail.com. Or you can write to us at Pyburn Street, Church of Christ, Post Office Box 187, Pocahontas, Arkansas, 72455. Friends, we thank you for being with us today, for studying God's Word with us, and we encourage you both today and every day to search the Scriptures daily.